Hi, what are you reading?
A graphic novel.
Graphic novels aren't real books.
Why not?
They're just pictures and words, and it's not real reading.
No, they are, and we're going to talk about it.
On Shelf Improvement at the Hopkinton Public Library. Thank you for joining us for our genre of the month. This month, as you may have noticed, we are talking about graphic novels. I have Ray Stevenson here with me. They are going to help me discuss graphic novels. Thank you for joining me, Ray.
Of course, anytime.
So can you tell me what is a graphic novel?
So a graphic novel, as opposed to a comic, is you take like a serialized piece of stories and you smash them into one book or multiple larger books, and it's just bigger stories in bigger books.
Okay, so comics tend to be really small. They tend to be like little
flimsy dudes.
Flimsy dudes. They're often about like superheroes, that sort of thing.
Very segmented stories. You're probably getting like 6 of those little comics for one story.
Sure. Okay, so you've got like tiny little episodes, maybe like a TV series with seasons kind of deal. Okay, so a graphic novel. So you've got some here on your lap here, and I can see that some of them are much larger. So these would be more like a TV special where it's like 2 hours long.
Yeah, these are more like a special or like a short movie.
Sure.
They have a lot more heft to them.
Okay, and many of these are in and of themselves a single story.
Yes, most of them can be.
Okay, and like comics, we've got the image with the text. All right, great. So that's a graphic novel. Thank you. I now understand everything there is to know about graphic novels.
I have no doubt.
That was a lie. All right, so let's talk a little bit about why folks might want to read a graphic novel, because I know plenty of folks who are like, oh, but it's like a picture book, ? So what is like special to graphic novels, or why might graphic novels be appealing to someone who maybe does like a normal text book, or maybe who doesn't like that?
Yeah, it's funny you bring up picture books because they do function in a similar way. They help reluctant readers advance their media literacy. There's a lot of nuance and complexity to having visuals paired with text. And so like reading along helps push readers into becoming more invested in the stories because they have these visual cues to stick to. And this is also another opportunity for readers to actually see themselves in what they're reading rather than just see a block of text and be like, I don't get it, this isn't for me. They can see themselves like reflected in the work or learn about people that they're spending time with.
Okay, yeah, so that definitely covers folks who might not be as into reading, or folks who might be wanting to get into reading but might have different barriers, whether it's like time or interest or what have you. But let's also, since these books also have pictures in them, let's go ahead and talk about the artistic side of that.
Sure.
So what does having the images with that text add to the artistic value of a novel?
I think what happens is it allows an illustrator to really show the range that they are capable of and reach a wider audience than they would normally have in individual releases of images. There's, like I said, there's a lot of nuance, so you can see like a range of emotions, you can see identities that maybe you wouldn't see present in other pieces of media. There might be opportunities for some artists and publishers to have their books published in color. And there can be a lot to be played with in terms of like mood and substance in that regard as well.
Yeah. So the art styles in these books can vary really widely.
Definitely. Like if you look at like a Neil Gaiman work, it's going to lean a little bit more surrealist. Sometimes memoirs tend to be maybe more realistic or like cartoonish. And then even like the text can reflect that. A lot of comics will use Comic Sans because it's pretty universal, and even readers that have trouble with font can read that text.
The only appropriate use for Comic Sans. All right, so like I mentioned, you've got some here on your lap. Are these recommendations for books that folks might get started with?
Definitely. At the Hopkinton Library, as many other places, you can find a range of topics discussed in books between fiction and nonfiction. Nonfiction-wise, we have things like memoirs featured, like Feeding Ghosts, talking about generational trauma in an Asian family, which is representation we don't see very often in graphics, having like this realistic approach to what is happening in a family. Continuing in the realm of families, we also have the very famous Mouse graphic novel, where Art Spiegelman follows his grandfather recalling his time during World War II, during the Holocaust. So we do have nonfiction options, but then there are more contemporary works that cover like wider social topics, like Ducks covers the oil industry, especially in its effects that it has, the impact it has on the environment. But we got to have a little fun too. It can't all be, depressing environmental disasters. We have these cute little guys. So we have like Matchmaker right here talking about like these two friends that are roommates and the sort of like chaos that happens as they navigate COVID, and they make like cultural references and they figure out like the relationship with each other as well as other people. And then we also have a lot of options in horror in our collection, including A Guest in the House, which explores a woman's mental state and features both black and white and color images, which I can now find.
Cool. Yeah, so that is a very wide variety of stuff. So we are not just looking at like Spider-Man and Superman here. There really is just a very wide range of genres, a wide range of artistic styles.
Because we will collect superhero novels, but it's not restricted to just like the top tier of Marvel and DC. We will hold like independent publishers and explore ranges beyond that of like superhero activity.
Yeah, and these are also really, really approachable for folks because they've got a lot of art in them. They are, many of them are very colorful, and then the stories are told in that space between the images and the text. So it's just light and fun, except for when they're horror, when they're dark and fun.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me to talk about graphic novels. I am so excited to get my hands on some of those.
Sure, yeah.
I'll see you next time. The next book in your favorite series has just been released, but the system says that you're going to be on hold for 6 months? So you put it on hold and you wait. And you wait. And you wait. And you wait. But now, starting in October, there's a different way for you to borrow ebooks, audiobooks, and even movies. The library has recently subscribed to Hula, which is similar to Libby and Canopy. You can get ebooks, audiobooks, movies, and TV shows all on Hula. And the best part is that there's no waiting line for it. You can sign up on the library's website and start borrowing today. This month, I want you guys to say a really big welcome to our special guests. We have Liz and Will with us, but they are not our special guests. Our special guests are Gracie and Hula. Welcome so much, Will and Liz, and also Gracie and Hula.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me here today.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you. So dogs are not our normal special guests on this show, but I invited you folks here today because you guys do come to the library with Gracie, or rather Gracie and Hula come to the library with you in order to do a program where kids can read to them in order to help to learn to read. Can you guys talk a little bit about that program and why this is helpful for folks?
Sure, you bet.
Absolutely. For 10 years now, Gracie has been leading the Puppy Tales program on Wednesday nights at the library in the children's reading room. And what we love about it is children who are just learning to read, can come and read to the dogs in a very low-risk environment.
You don't need to be a child to come. Anyone can come say hello to the puppy.
This is true.
To clarify, anybody can come read to dogs.
Correct. And it was started 10 years ago with Gracie, as Will said, with Mrs. K, the librarian at the time, and it's just taken off. And, Gracie has kind of gone ahead and started to teach Hula how to do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we have a lot of fun.
That's great. Yeah, and it's really helpful for kids because, Gracie and Hula aren't going to tell them that they're mispronouncing a word or, come on, you need to read faster. You should know what this word is. They just sit there and they listen and they're happy to be read to.
Exactly.
Sometimes they fall asleep, but
Sometimes they fall asleep.
That's okay, too.
Bedtime
If the story is really good, they fall asleep.
Gracie has been known to fall asleep and maybe snore a little bit, but
Well, that's how you know you've got a really good book.
Exactly.
And it just knocks you right out. So Gracie and Hula do not only do reading at the library. Can you tell us about some of the other things that they work on?
Sure. Hula and Gracie are both certified through Pets and People, and that's what they do with the library. They also go to schools if there's anything, exam days or any stressful events, we'll go. But Hula and Gracie are also first responder therapy dogs. And so they'll work with our local police department, fire department, military, or any other first responders to help provide help with any PTSD or just even make a day a lot better.
Yeah, that's great. They really get around.
they're busy dogs.
They are.
And last, I know that Gracie has an announcement to make.
Yep.
Absolutely. As I mentioned, she's been doing this for 10 years, and she will be turning 13 later this month. Gracie is going to enter into a soft retirement program. I think she's eligible for the pension at the library at this point, but yeah, she's getting to the point in her life where she still enjoys her work, but wants to take a little bit more time for herself.
Great. Well, we will love seeing Hula around at the library, and we will love to see Gracie when she's feeling up to it.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining me here today, and thank you so much for coming to the library.
And come see us every Wednesday, mainly Wednesday nights between 6:45 and 7:45 upstairs in the children's area.
Yeah. And again, not just children.
No. We do
Exactly.
librarian therapy as well.
Oh yes, goodness, we need it. Well, thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Here are some one-star reviews of classic novels provided by the internet. This was like Narnia, but without the talking animals and if the author hated children. Lord of the Flies. If I woke up as a large cockroach, I also would starve myself and die. The Metamorphosis. An annoying scientist and an ugly tall man fight over who is more depressed. Frankenstein. Custodial staff at a 1%er resort commits a grave breach of employment agreement by failing to keep the grounds free and clear of supernatural deterioration. The Shining. A boy, who is not actually a prince, with a superiority complex, falls in love with a manipulative flower and travels around the galaxy judging everybody else's planets. The Little Prince.
Do you call your favorite reader a bookworm? Bookworms are real things. There are no actual worms, but anything from silverfish to mice to book lice are all little creatures that can eat or gnaw on books, thus bookworms. I think I might read more ebooks from here on out.